There we go. Good morning, church. I wanted to take a moment out to give my condolences to the Benkes, the Rogers, and the Lowrys. There's several other people that also passed away within the last few days, but these are the three that are that I was closest to with regards to relationship. And I'm related to the Benkes and the Rogers. I'm not sure about the Lowrys. Those of you who know about the Lowrys, they had Lowry's Market, and they're very, very well known in Dowagiac and the surrounding areas. I just want, again, my condolences and my prayers go out to them, specifically the Benkes. Those of you who know my family, they're related to the Johnsons, and everybody that's law enforcement knows who these guys are because of Sheriff Benke, again, who's my cousin. It's something sparked in my spirit, and I believe that it was a combination of these three deaths that kind of did that with regards to me reminding people about me calling treason on behalf of law enforcement. Again, one of the things that I really, really stand for, and this is really, really important for those of you who are new to my videos, is the fact that I really, really defend law enforcement because of the fact that these guys have to abide by court orders from judges that they don't necessarily agree with. And I want to make that point because a lot of people who get mad and frustrated at the system do not have an understanding as to the policies and procedures and the process with which the law enforcement have with regards to judicial enforcement. So there's a lot of court orders that the law enforcement are wrongfully persecuted and forced responsibility on that they never had anything to do with. All they are is enforcement. They're not the people who make the laws and the rules. All they're doing is enforcing them. So I want people to be mindful of this when you're having conversation and relationship with law enforcement. I hope that opening people's eyes to the process kind of helps a little bit in helping to redirect where accountability is supposed to happen at. Because like in my case with my daughter, there's people that knew me and held me as a baby. And we're so proud to watch me go through the process and succeed at having my daughter Tiara, only to have rogue judges come in and destroy all that. I know that some of these law enforcement were praying that I didn't hold them responsible. So when my first set of videos came out in 2018, a lot of which had to do during COVID with my defending law enforcement so that people can have a better understanding as why. Because we are really, really wrongfully directing our anger and frustration as a public unit at law enforcement when they don't really deserve it. They are really the true heroes here because they've had to put up with so much and remain silent in order to keep their jobs. Moving forward, I want to talk about Psalms 46:1, which says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because the book of Psalms is known for helping and healing. Repeating verses like this to ourselves and out in the air is exactly what turns victims into survivors, which is something that my grandfather had in mind when he helped create the Purple Gang. John 14:6 says, Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the light. No one comes to the Father except through me. And the word way gives direction as to the direction that we're instructed to go with regards to the word. Truth represents fulfillment, a promise, and prophecy. Life represents Jesus' teachings and concepts of both spiritual and eternal life. So when you look at this verse, please keep the definitions to the words in mind because it really does make a difference as to what direction we're supposed to go in when we study and preach the word. Overcomers are required. to enter into your overcoming is required in order to enter into the gates of heaven. You will never, ever, ever hear, "Welcome home, my faithful servant, job well done," with a bitter and angry heart. And so it's very, very important for us as ministers to teach overcoming as part of the process when we're talking about repentance. Sometimes this takes years. You can't fake overcoming. Overcoming is proven in different ways, specifically with behavior. When your behavior does not represent forgiveness, you have not overcome. There's people that claim to be forgiving people, and when you look at their underlying behavior, does it match what an overcomer really represents? That's something that I'm not, but I'm urging ministers around the world to start talking about, because this is really, really important when you talk about trying to get into heaven. And there's so many people that are trying to do it the wrong way. You can't buy your way in. You can't steal your way in. The only way you can get into heaven and hear those wonderful words that all of us pray and hope for every day, to hear God say, "Welcome home, my faithful servant, job well done." You have to not only overcome, God requires us to help people who have not quite made it there by holding their hand and saying, "Here, let me take the lead and I'll show you how." It is a spiritual thing. We have to release anger and bitterness, and it's not easy to do. There's sometimes I've had a hard time with it. I also want people to keep in mind that forgiveness does not relieve people of consequences. You can say "I'm sorry" all day to the person that you damaged and hurt, but that does not, and they are supposed to relieve you of their own hate and bitterness for the situation, and allow the authorities, aka our rogue judges we've got right now that are not doing, some of these guys are not doing very well. We're supposed to let go and allow them to fulfill the process of consequencing. It is not anybody's place to consequence. This is where a lot of people have a misunderstanding with regards to overcoming. We are required to judge. What we're not required to, and what I mean by that is a person living righteously? Are they living on a good path in order for you to grab their hand and say, "Here, let me take the lead"? They have to at least be showing in their behavior that they're trying. Otherwise, God commands us in verse after verse to let them go until they decide to do the right things. And supporting those who are in sin is, according to the word, is a no-no. You cannot support people that are doing things that are bad. Do we turn our backs on them? No. What you do is you don't support the sin. So if you have people that are committing adultery, people that are lying and stealing, and they're profiting from their lying and stealing, you're not supposed to support that. Supporting it makes you in collusion with the sin. And Jesus talks a lot about this. People just don't listen when they're studying and preaching and learning the word. So keep these things in mind when you're talking about forgiveness and overcoming, because the way people are being taught to forgive is not correct. And we as ministers are responsible to teach people exactly the correct process in how to forgive and in how to allow the law to take control and to seek the consequences on their own. See, they had a problem with me when I was younger, and this is one of the reasons why this is really, really a wonderful ministering topic for me to minister, because I used to have a lot of problems with taking the law into my own hands. It's one thing to investigate and gather evidence. It's another to turn around and to try to consequence people yourselves. So we can't be responsible for that. We are only responsible for what we have our hand on. If you're not a judge or a law enforcement person, you have no legal right or ethical or spiritual right to take the matters into your own hands. This is why it's so important That those of you who are hollering, I'm a believer, stop robbing and looting people. That is consequencing people because of your beliefs. It's also a form of persecution. We've also been instructed by Jesus to turn our backs on violence because God hates it so much. So remember this as you walk your day to day. Are you forgiving somebody for real? Or are you seeking consequence for them because they're not doing the things you feel in your corrupted heart as to whether all of our hearts are corrupted. All of our, even mine, as fine as a line I walk, as fine as the straight line is that I walk, even my heart's filthy. So remember this as you walk your day to day. It's not our place to judge people as far as consequences go. There's a difference between assessing somebody in judgment and deciding whether or not, hey, this is a person that I should not be around because they are not behaving in a fashion with which they're supposed to. So you need to learn this is where studying comes in and with the word, and you need to learn that and that's why we're commanded and instructed to study and open the book and read it every day. You will never grasp the concepts that Jesus is trying to teach when he went around ministering unless you study it. There are things that I've studied 100 times and looked over 100 times in the Bible, and you can tell that I'm well studied. And I still have to go back and re-look at the stuff. And when I do, sometimes it doesn't connect until God's ready for it to. In his own time, he says. So remember that as you walk your day to day. Again, I want to give my condolences to the Benke family, the Johnsons, the Rogers, and to the Lowrys. I pray for that you guys are at peace and that your suffering is over and ended, so that when you bury our family members, that you have peace with God's love. God bless America. Have a blessed day. Back the badge and support the Purple Gang.